Hey guys, Coach Mike here, and today on the What's Fit show, we are talking about the one thing no one wants to address with nutrition. Welcome back to the What's Fit show, where we talk about the four things that drive your fitness: movement, mindset, nutrition, and physicality. I'm here with
Coach Jenna. Hey.
And Coach Ed.
Oh, yeah. And this week we're talking about the one thing that no one wants to address with their nutrition. And how many of you guys watching out there have been in this position where you've followed a diet plan to a T, you've gotten the results that you've wanted, only to see them slowly slip away over time? And the one thing that nobody wants to address in their nutrition, it's the weekend. So Ed, what's your idea on this concept?
I guess before we even get into the weekend, we have to look at the fundamental way that people look at dieting and changes you make with exercise and nutrition. They make it this weird race towards trying to add as many habits as possible. So before we even think about the weekend, we have to just make sure we understand the difference between a habit and a practice. A habit is just simply something that you've practiced long enough consistently that doesn't take any mental energy. And a practice or a daily practice is something that you're consistently trying. You're consistently trying to put it into your life. And even if you're doing it, like I just said, consistently, if it still takes mental effort and energy to make it happen, then it's not a habit yet. So I think we first need to understand the difference between habits and practices, and then acknowledge that if something is still a practice, that it's okay that we have to put consistent time, effort, and energy into it. And that's going to be whether it's during the week or on the weekend.
All right. So we just did the math. Your weekend is about 33% of your entire week. So think like Friday night to Sunday night. Oh, 35%.
That's if you count the second half of Saturday. Or Saturday, all the halves of Saturday, if you count the second half of Friday.
Yeah, I definitely do. So one of the hardest parts about managing this 33 to 35% of your week, is that you have to wait another entire week to work on it.
So what Jenna just said there is really important. Like, you have to wait a whole nother week to work on it. It's this big portion of your week. In other words, it's enough of your week that if you don't address it right, you're not going to move forward. And then what happens is you dive in, or you attempt and you feel like you fell flat on your face, and then you have to wait a whole nother week to do it. I think people need to cut themselves some slack and understand that, like, tackling that portion, once you've gotten through the week and you now have to tackle the weekend, it's actually really hard. So it's okay if it takes extra time.
Yeah, so the weekend takes up more time than we realize. Obviously, we're enjoying it, so it goes by so quickly. The good thing is we have time to practice during the week. So Jenna, what is your solution for people out there who are struggling to get the results they're finding and don't want to address the weekend?
So one of the main practical solutions I could think of is just apply some of the strategies that you use during the week to the weekend. So drink enough water, eat some friggin' vegetables, make sure you have enough protein, plan ahead.
So Jenna, when you say be prepared, what do you mean by that?
So have a plan. Like, I like to write things down because I'm very spacey, obviously. Like, what am I going to do Saturday morning that's going to help with Saturday afternoon and Saturday evening? What am I going to do Sunday? Am I going to be prepping food for the next week? Am I going to work out Saturday or Sunday morning? Write stuff down, put it in your calendar, use scheduling to your advantage.
That's a good tip. And Ed, we work with a lot of different people, but obviously we've had a lot of people who've had the experience of being on a diet and crushing it, but then not maintaining the results that they're seeing. So kind of, where do those people come in when they're like, what is their mindset when they come in? And then how does that help us actually help them when they feel like they're struggling?
Before we look at the client's mindset, let's look at the exact opposite of what happens. You know, as a coach, if someone came in and, you know, they said they wanted to lose 10, 15, 20, 40 pounds, and you start to ask them some questions and they're like, yeah, I sleep 8 hours a night. Yeah, my Oura ring tells me I have the perfect quality of sleep. And my readiness is always in the 90s. And, oh yeah, stress. Oh, I manage that really well. And when I'm a little more stressed out, if I normally work out 4 days a week, I work out 3. In other words, they list off all these things. Their calories are good. Their macros are good. everything in their blood work is good and their lifestyle is good, but they still can't lose weight. Coach is going to be pretty damn nervous, because what we look for is we look for opportunities and points of failure. Like, we want to see all the things that need to be cleaned up, all the things that need to be potentially improved. And when I say need to be, I'm just saying need because the client is stating a need that they want to change. So if we get that person that comes in and everything's perfect, we don't know what to do. So take the contrast of that, and you have that person that comes in and they say they whether they realize or not, we identify all of these things are off. For us, it gives us an opportunity to help them. And if you notice that there's that many things off, then we shouldn't be trying to fix it quickly. We shouldn't be trying to fix it with a diet, because we've just established that the diet isn't the only thing that needs to change. So I think we just need to make sure we understand that from the coach's side, when we notice things need to change, we're actually excited because we have an opportunity to protect you against those points of failure. And as a client, if you have a lot of potential points of failure, meaning things that are going to hold you back from your goal, you got to cut yourself some slack and allow yourself to spend the time and energy on fixing one thing at a time.
Yeah, we came to this conclusion and to this topic yesterday when we were doing our notes on it, kind of based on my own experience. I've been working for 6 months to get my meal prep and my calories and macros all in a row. And I allowed myself, because one of the big concepts that we've been talking about lately is just playing the long game. And so I've really tried to take that to heart and apply that to my practice. So there were times where I messed up. There were days where I didn't feel like meal prepping, days where I had to scramble to get the food together that I needed to hit my macros, because it was important to me. So now that I've taken the time over the last 6 months to really ingrain these habits into my life, the next thing for me is understanding why I'm doing this. And Ed asked me that question, and I said to him, I just want to be a healthy adult. I'm turning 34 next month, and I want to be a healthy adult as I go forward, who doesn't have to worry about massive fluctuations in their weight. I don't want to be an overweight adult that can't live the life they want to because they have a hard time managing their food. And so his big challenge to me, and every time he's challenged me on stuff like this, and he just kind of peppers it in there, and then I run with it, is that you have to manage your weekend better. And at first, I kind of like the first weekend, I didn't do well. And I got really down on myself for not doing as well as I could have. But instead of getting pissed, which I did get pissed, and I didn't at least allow it to derail me, I started to think about what could I have done better. And now each week, this is the third weekend in a row that I'm going to be working on what habit can I improve. And I'm kind of going back to Jenna's idea of taking things from the week and applying them to the weekend. So I'm trying to have a shake Saturday and Sunday. I'm trying to have as much nutritious food in the front end of the day. So at least I'm making sure that I have the appropriate amount of, especially protein, on the weekends.
Yeah, and I think with what Mike's saying there, and it ties into what Jenna said earlier, she said to take some things that you've owned during the week and apply it to your weekend. It doesn't have to be the same exact thing. It's just, can you bring that same energy? Can you bring like a similar structure to the specific practice you're trying to put in your weekend? So what Mike just said is by bringing in shakes, by having a meal earlier in the day, all he's doing is forcing structure into his weekend. And it's going to make it a lot easier for him to choose to be looser in how he approaches his day when he wants to, but he's not going to feel like he's behind the 8 ball already halfway into the first day of the weekend.
Yeah, I also like, Mike, that you realize that you don't have to be perfect, and you just worked on being consistent with meal planning. You also spent that time experimenting. So instead of having this kind of closed, fixed mindset, you were more open. You were allowing yourself to, make mistakes and, fall down and then get back up. Aw, it's corny.
No, but I mean, that's one of the big things that, like Ed just said, and we all deal with our members, is that we have to get them off their own back. Like, it's so easy to get down on yourself and start to become self-deprecating, which is totally, I think, a normal part of being a human. But then if you allow that self-deprecation to just derail everything, and, fat loss happens on Monday, I'll just take care of it on Monday. I'll take care of it on Monday. And slowly that time adds up.
Yeah, and also kudos to your coach for asking you what your why is. Like, why are you even doing this? Why do you care? What's the reason behind it?
And if I remember right, the reason that we even went there was just he was having trouble finding clarity in how to make the next change. So we had to land on like what he wanted to change and even deeper why he wanted to change it. Because if his goal was to be as lean as possible for August, the approach when we started this process would have been very different. His goal wasn't that. His goal was to be a strong, healthy adult throughout the rest of his life and control as much of it as possible. So if that's the case, then just by finding out what he wants to accomplish and why he wants to accomplish it, he's already built in the fact that it's okay if he stumbles, because this is a lifelong thing. It's not something with a deadline.
Yeah, so that's kind of like a mindset shift from the diet mentality, which I know a lot of us have had before, to playing the long game. So realizing that the weekend doesn't necessarily make or break your results, but over the course of time, it can.
So then what's the alternative? Zumba?
Zumba.
I saw that dance move.
It's really hard for me to do. I'm really surprised. I'm sorry to say this, but if the weekend is too hard to change for you, then maybe your week isn't as fun as it should be. So one strategy you can apply that is free of charge, free 99, is just adding some mindfulness during your days. So are you kind of just mindlessly going through the week, going through the motions, or are you finding little things to get excited about? Are you noticing, like, I don't know, the weather outside today? It's gorgeous out. Are you paying attention to your kids or your loved ones? So being mindful of what's around you and even your own thinking and your own mind can be really helpful if you kind of have just a dreary week.
So you're saying that people are kind of using food on the weekends to make up for like maybe feelings of unfulfillment during the week.
Definitely. Food is the most delicious, accessible, legal thing that we could use to feel better. And it just so happens that people kind of let their hair down on the weekend and, alcohol comes into play, lots of food, popcorn I had on Sunday. So all that stuff comes into play. It's really, really easy to use food to feel better.
If you think about the typical mindset that we all take, like what have we all been trained to do? We just work super hard, longer hours than we want to. We look at stuff with our kids and our family and friends as an obligation, and everything's a chore. And then you look forward to that 1 or 2 vacations a year to really have some fun. I mean, that's what people do on a smaller scale for the weekend. So if we can find ways to make the time during Monday through Friday, if you can find little ways to make things fun, then your weekend doesn't have to be Six Flags. You don't have to rage out and drink every day and eat all the food you want and sit on the couch and just mold into the couch and watch as much Netflix as possible. If we can find things during the week that you enjoy, then you're going to have a lot easier time controlling Saturday and Sunday. And part of it is actually like schedule in time to have fun. But another part of it is to start to appreciate different things and to slow down a little bit. Like I know for me, like a lot of people did, I started to walk more when everything locked down. And I actually would get back from a walk with my wife and be like, oh, that was fun. Whereas before we wouldn't have looked at something like that as fun. So part of it is, allowing yourself to let loose and do some fun things, but it's also over time, just slow down so you can actually appreciate some of the things that you are doing and not look at them as a chore.
So I love that idea. I think the idea of using appreciation as a way to make everyday Six Flags, that's kind of a cool idea. Yeah, minus the creepy bald dancing guy. Exactly. Now you've ruined it, and everybody watching will have nightmares for the foreseeable future.
Sorry, y'all.
At least I didn't do that because it would have been way creepier.
He's in your bloodline.
One of my people.
But it's a great idea to just be appreciative whenever we can. And I think not only will it help with the way people eat, but just their overall vibe about life. Going into the weekend, Jenna, what are some other action steps that people could take to help them improve their weekend?
Yeah, Mike, I really like that idea of being grateful for what you have, appreciating everything that you have. I also love the idea of mindful eating on the weekend, especially. So, eating slowly and mindfully, and then eating to satisfied or 80% full, however you want to look at it. So, let's say you're not at the point where you can get rid of, X meal or Y drink. Just make sure that you're mindful of it, you're enjoying it, and you're eating to 80% full, I guess, and or drinking to 80% drunk.
It's actually pretty good,
I
pretty
think that's
good
kind of a
guideline.
good idea.
But I mean, when you're talking about being mindful, like I feel like we have to expose the contrast of that for people to realize they even have to work on it. If you think about what a lot of people do, and I've caught myself doing this, like I'll be sitting on the couch with my kids and I haven't had my phone out a lot when they're around, at least lately. And the other day I was sitting down watching a movie with my son. My son's like 18 months old. He's sitting on my lap. Like there's nothing better than that. Like it was a movie I actually enjoy. And he was sitting still for once. And I actually grabbed my phone. And that is not being aware. That is not being present. That is not being mindful. And as soon as I caught myself doing it, I just put the phone off to the side and put it on airplane mode. So I think we all fall into traps where we're not mindful, we're not aware. And if we can, whether we're applying it to mindful eating or just being mindful about how we're going about our day and, tying it back to appreciation, being mindful of the things we enjoy, if we can be more present and more part of our day, more part of our process, then it opens up the door for us to enjoy the things we do during the week and have potentially a little more self-control and structure on the weekend.
And that's a great place to bring it back to close. What's the one thing that people don't want to address with their nutrition? It's the weekend. But the cool thing is you don't have to address the weekend. You can be more appreciative and more mindful of things during the week and over time apply those concepts to the weekend. I love Jenna's idea of planning. So if you have some forethought, just like I mentioned, I have to think about making those shakes. I have to think about making sure I have food prepared for the weekend. Because if I don't, I'll either go a bunch of time without eating or I'll make less than positive choices that move me towards my goal. So be appreciative and try to plan. And if you do those things over time and cut yourself some slack, you'll be able to not only address the week and be more confident in the choices that you're making, but the weekend will become not maybe something you look forward to or are scared of because of some of the choices that you might make. So I'm excited for people to apply this stuff to their lives.
Do you think we could get The Weeknd on the show?
Probably. I don't think he's busy.
Yeah, we could definitely get him easy.
He didn't just drop a big album or anything.
He must be doing a lot of Zoom concerts.
Can we talk about that remix album though? So good.
It's really good.
So
I haven't heard
good.
it.
You need to hear it. It's very good.
But also he cut his hair, which made me very sad because I liked his big dog hair.
Yeah, but maybe you need to be more aware and mindful of the fact that it's his hair and he's allowed to cut it.
The Weeknd.
But what is he doing? He's addressing The Weeknd, and that's what we're trying to get people to do.
So thank you for watching the What's Fit show with me, Coach Mike.
Coach Jenna. See ya.
Coach Ed.
We are here every week to help you with the 4 things that drive your fitness, movement, mindset, nutrition, and physicality. We'll see you next week.
Later, friends.
Bye.